Good morning. I'm Judge Matt O'Brien. I am here to tell you, based on experience, as an immigration officer with INS, as a trial attorney with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and as an immigration judge, the danger to America's communities is not ICE, and it's not local law enforcement cooperation with ICE. It's foreign criminals. The state of Maryland has passed dangerous and quite possibly unconstitutional legislation that interferes with ICE completing its mission. There's no reason to kneecap ICE. It's not in the business of arresting moms and 5-year-olds. It's in the business of protecting American citizens from foreign criminals. That is the truth of the matter. So I am extremely proud to stand here with these people who have been victims of illegal alien crimes and with law enforcement officers who are attempting to protect the American public from national security and public safety threats. The state of Maryland is not entitled to ignore federal law simply because it doesn't like it. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sheriff Jeff Gaylor from Harford County, and I first want to thank my fellow, the 16 other sheriffs that are standing here beside me, 17 of the 24 sheriffs in this state joining us this morning, and who have placed their name on this lawsuit to begin to fix the public safety disaster created by some of our state's out-of-touch, criminal-friendly politicians. I also want to acknowledge the legislators, some of whom are with us today, who worked hard to try to prevent this dangerous legislation from passing in the first place, and of course the Angel family members who have had their lives shattered by these terrible sanctuary state policies and our nation's open borders. On Friday, a dangerous line was crossed in the state of Maryland by allowing the so-called Community Trust Act to become law without the governor's signature. Annapolis politicians and Governor Moore have officially turned our state into an ultra sanctuary state. It wasn't good enough to be a sanctuary jurisdiction. We've now had to move up. And I believe we are now the most friendly and welcoming state for criminal illegal immigrants. I don't know, but perhaps the governor will want to add that to the Welcome to Maryland sign. I want to take a moment and strip away the political spin and look at the reality, the raw reality of the passage, what the passage of this legislation will mean for your family, the families of Maryland here in our state. This legislation is not about trust, and it's certainly not about supporting the law-abiding members of our community. It is an intentional, state-mandated obstruction of public safety. This law deliberately ties the hands of our dedicated local deputies, police officers, and correctional officers. It forbids us from sharing information with federal authorities and prohibits us from honoring immigration detainers, forcing us to release criminal illegal offenders right back into the streets of our Maryland communities. As the sheriff of Harford County, this law puts me and every other sheriff across Maryland in an impossible and entirely unconstitutional position. It forces us to choose between complying with this reckless state mandate or upholding our sworn oaths to the United States Constitution and federal law. That's why we are standing here today to announce that we are drawing a line in the sand. Although the Federation, alongside the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, we have filed a formal federal lawsuit to halt this unconstitutional overreach before it can do irreparable damage to the communities and create more damage for innocent Maryland families. We are taking this to court because we cannot and will not permit ultra-sanctuary state policies to expose our dedicated law enforcement and correctional deputies to federal criminal liability just for doing their jobs. Under federal law, harboring and shielding removable criminal offenders is a crime. Yet Annapolis expects our deputies to do expressly exactly that. We are also taking this to court because the human cost of this legislation is not hypothetical. It is measured in preventable tragedies and the heartbreaking loss of innocent lives right here in our communities, just like we experienced in Harford County with the loss of Rachel Morin, and Patty, her mom, is with us today, and Kayla Hamilton and her mom, Tammy Nobles, is with us here today. Both ladies taken at the hands of criminal illegal aliens. Annapolis has done it again. They've doubled down on this experiment and pro-criminal support. They have chosen to prioritize the comfort of criminal illegal aliens over the safety of law-abiding Maryland families. Yes, Annapolis may have abandoned its duties to protect you, Maryland families, but as the sheriff in Harford County and as the sheriff standing with me here this morning, we never will. Thank you.
Hello, Mrs. Boren? There's no easy way to tell you this. We found your daughter's body. That was 2.5 years ago. 7 days ago would have been her 40th birthday. She was raped, brutally beaten, murdered, stuffed into a drain pipe. That was my daughter. This happened because the previous administration, the Biden administration, had opened our borders and allowed 20 million illegal immigrants into our country. It happened because the state of Maryland had sanctuary policies that welcomed these same people. Now with this law, no law-abiding citizen is safe. You, by passing this law, are punishing us. You are allowing criminals to come, to have safe harbor in our state, to recklessly commit crimes, and then treat them with the respect and with the compassion that you fail to give to the victims of these crimes. I ask every mother, look at your child if your child's around. Every father, every husband, every wife, look at your spouse. Now imagine that you have no control over them being murdered and killed in some way. And then knowing that the person, if it's an illegal immigrant, will be able to most likely go free on probation or cashless bail, to be able to commit more crimes. We've seen this happen in other states. We cannot allow this to happen. We must protect our families. These sheriffs here are strong men that are not turning away from telling the truth and standing up for what is true and what is truth. We need to protect our families. We need to abolish this law, however, but we need to do that for the safety of our communities and for our families. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Frederick County Sheriff Chuck Jenkins. I've been the tip of the spear of this immigration enforcement effort for 18 years. Until 2 months ago, we had the longest standing 287G of agreement across the country of any sheriff's office. It was very effective. Through that program, we removed 1,884 criminals from our county. So that's gone. That's dead. No longer. So now this piece of legislation, as it stands right now, has handcuffed me totally. I can't make a call to an immigration enforcement officer. I can't allow one into my jail. Prior to this legislation, I had 11 inmates in my jail either awaiting trial or serving sentences for serious felonies, 11 on detainer. Now, because of this law, 9 of those are no longer fit the criteria. So now, when their sentences are up or their trials are adjudicated, I've got to open my doors and allow these criminals, which include defendants of second-degree rape, sexual abuse of minors, drug trafficking, aggravated assault, sexual solicitation of minors. I've got to let these people walk out my door into my community, again, to put my public at risk, maybe to reoffend, maybe not, but you know what? This can't happen. I appreciate FAIR being on board with us and representing us sheriffs to keep our county safe. My job as sheriff is to keep my county safe and to benefit Marylanders. So thank you for being here today. This is a really important message.
My colleagues and I were on an intimate call and interview with the governor last Friday, per the governor's request. And the governor told us he was not going to veto the bill because he liked certain aspects of the bill. But there were certain things he didn't like about the bill, therefore he wasn't going to sign it. And we quickly asked, then why not veto it, Governor? It's a bad bill. Why not veto it? And we never got a clear answer. Nor did we know at the time we were speaking with the governor that it was going to go into law last Friday. We believed it was likely going to go into law June the 2nd or the 3rd, and we told him that. He never corrected us. Instead, hours later, it goes into law. And we're being notified by the media up here in Baltimore that it go into law. We didn't know. We thought it was going to law June the 2nd. Our best calculation was June the 2nd to June the 3rd. So yes, the governor is complicit in what you see going on. He could have vetoed this. He vetoes other bills. We expected him to veto it. We were hopeful he was going to veto it, but he didn't. And this was after the governor came down to my press conference in Wycomico County during the announcement of this large cocaine seizure that affects all Marylanders, and stood up and talked about how much he supported law enforcement and public safety and getting criminals off the streets. But he had an opportunity to veto this bill, and he chose not to, much of the disappointment of my colleagues and my county executive. And fair, we don't want to be here today. We've got so many things going on in respective jurisdictions, but we're here because this nonsense up here in Annapolis, Maryland, has to stop. They have overstepped their boundaries when it comes to allowing sheriffs to police our own communities and do what's best in our respective jurisdictions. We are elected by our people to do just that. Lawmakers pass legislation, we're expected to enforce it. We are also not only accustomed, as my representative from FAIR just said, accustomed to enforcing the laws, but we are expected to comply with all state and federal laws, including immigration laws. All we want is to keep dangerous criminals off our streets. And now we've got to turn them all loose. They've changed everything, much against the governor's initial plans for sheriffs and a memorandum and guidance he gave us all. This contradicts everything.
We are short on time.
I'm Sheriff Matt Crisafulli, the Sheriff for Worcester County, Maryland. I thank everyone for being here, and I thank FAIR for taking on this critical necessity for all Maryland sheriffs. Today, I, along with 16 of my fellow sheriffs, are speaking for James, we are speaking for Rachel, and we are speaking for Kayla, because they no longer have a voice. So we stand united today to speak for them. And not only are we speaking for them, we are speaking for all of the residents and visitors in our respective counties. This issue, ladies and gentlemen, is not about politics, it's about public safety. And we believe that this law directly hampers our ability to effectively safeguard the boundaries of our respective counties. Today, we are seeking that injunctive relief that we feel is a necessity for us to be able to save lives. We will continue to speak for James, for Kayla, and for Rachel. We will continue to say their names, but it's our goal that we do not have to say any other names because of this type of legislation that is hampering us from protecting the people that we were sworn to protect. It's pretty much common that law enforcement organizations work best when they communicate. And you heard my fellow sheriffs make some very poignant remarks today. When we have a lack of communication and it falls through the cracks, that's when these dangerous offenders are going to implement themselves into our communities and further conduct their criminal behaviors. I want to thank everyone behind me for standing up not only for their counties, but we're standing up for the state of Maryland, ladies and gentlemen. And we're standing up for everyone who lives here so that they do not lose their lives because of dangerous legislation. Thank you, everyone, for your time and being here today.
Good morning.
We recognize that there are people that are here that are trying to do good things and make a better life for themselves. I will tell you, in law enforcement, that's not who we target by no means. It is the people that are committing crimes within those communities that need to be going to jail and back to the country of origin that they came from, so that they stop terrorizing their own immigrant community. So I think that's it. I think we're done with. You got one more?
Thank you, Sheriff. I think that's it.
Well, actually, if I could add one thing. That question comes up all the time, and frankly, I don't understand it. I was an immigration judge because there is a court in the United States that exists solely to evaluate claims that are brought by the federal government against people who are allegedly violating the immigration laws. So, if you're not in violation of the laws of the United States, then you don't have anything to worry about from ICE or any of these gentlemen behind me. If you are breaking the laws, it doesn't matter whether you like it or whether you think that the immigration laws are wrong, you are violating the laws. But the fact is that we spend billions of dollars on due process for people who entered this country without permission in order to make sure that they are not unfairly or improperly removed from the United States.
All right, thank you, folks. We will be happy to take, if you want to talk to any of the sheriffs, the angels.